What a way to intro our very like esteemed friend Stephen Yates, who's got like this illustrious background. And I'm talking about dudes being catty. Stephen Yates, who worked in the Bush White House, advised former VP Dick Cheney. Of course, he ran Radio Free Asia. Communists hate him. That's why one of the reasons why we love him. And he lost his Minecraft bunker. So he is now in the Eagle's nest, kind of, I guess, in some undisclosed city. And he joins us via Skype. Good to see you, my friend. Am I overthinking this? Because it was really weird. Obama is very territorial, and we've come to know this about him. I mean, when he left after he termed out, he left the White House. He took his whole online fundraising apparatus with him, would not share it. It was very weird. But it seemed there was a little pettiness, not just towards Trump, but also towards the current president, because he didn't really mention anything about what Biden wanted to do. Nothing about the Green New Deal. Did you pick up on that?
Well, in a way, it doesn't surprise me because this was supposed to be the third term from Obama. And there is nothing anyone wants to associate with 30% approval Joe Biden. And so if you're Barack Obama wanting to take your 100th victory lap around the world for the glory of being him, why in the world would you bring Joe Biden into the conversation? I mean, he literally just leaves a room and people wonder, what just happened? What did he say? And so for Obama, it doesn't surprise me that he doesn't bring it up. Plus, for them, they've been in on the joke. This is the quiet part out loud. Biden is irrelevant to them. They've been running things from behind the scenes, and they just let him get up and deliver talking points from time to time. And then all of Obama's former staff are correcting the record after the fact. So it's sort of surprising. I don't disagree with the cattiness analysis. But at the same time, it's not that big of a shock because Obama doesn't really respect this guy.
And and this guy makes it kind of hard to do that. Speaking of the quiet part out loud, you gave me the best segue I think ever. You know where we're going. I got to ask you about this. I got to ask you about this New York Post story. I'm just going to read the headline. Camilla Parker Bowles can't stop talking about Joe Biden's long fart. This was everywhere. Daily Mail, New York Post, New York Times. It is all over everywhere. Every outlet, they cannot resist writing about it, even if they're in Biden's pocket. And apparently this was at, I guess, like the cocktail hour at the COP26 summit. And he was talking with the Duchess of Cornwall. And it was this gathering in Scotland, and it was apparently loud and impossible to ignore, and she has not stopped talking about it. And apparently not just her, everybody else is as well. This after he fell asleep while he was listening to people speak. I mean, I remember as we had a family member that as they were getting up there in age, a great aunt, as she was becoming less aware, she had dementia. She was also becoming less aware of the sounds that she would make and things around her. And I'm not saying that that's the case here, but it definitely looks like the case here, Stephen. I needed to get your reaction to this. It's silly, but it's not at the same time.
Oh, all I can say is America is back, and everyone knows. He came, he saw, he conquered, and the British can't stop talking about it. So, I mean, it's incredibly sad on a serious level. On the other hand, look, everyone wanted to say that we were a joke, that people would snicker about President Trump coming and going to different things. He would do the alpha move and just nudge people out of the way to dominate the middle of a group picture. I thought all that stuff was awesome.
I did too.
Because the rest of it is just puffery. But this just makes us look like a pathetic joke that belongs in the aisle of the grocery store no one admits they need to shop in. And that's basically where Joe Biden has put the United States of America on the world stage.
Oh my gosh. America is back. There you go, right there. And that's the ending headline, and that's the headline that's actually going farther than anything that he said there. Really sort of, it pretty much says everything. I wanted to ask you too, one of the things that he touched on, and that now his surrogates are writing pieces about is, and he had, there was a tweet about this, I think from the White House or earlier, from the president earlier, talking about how, China and Russia because they didn't show up to this thing. They no longer can influence anyone else. But that seems weird. I mean, looking at Russia, and we've talked about this, he greenlights Nord Stream 2, that after he ended Keystone XL. Of course, he now is looking at that, I think it's line 4, that's up in the Great Lakes region, that it's like 540,000 barrels that they ship out. And then the restrictions on leases on public land. We were beating OPEC. Now we're not. They had to beg OPEC for to release more oil into the market. OPEC said no, and then they responded by raising prices. This, as we are in a supply chain crisis, inflation, steep energy prices. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm laughs about it. It sounds like he's giving all the influence to OPEC and Russia. And then on China, his Green New Deal would have us be all in EVs with zero emission, nothing, but we would have all the pollution in China and they would essentially control all of our energy. That sounds like he's actually doing a lot to make them influencers.
No, he's carrying an awful lot of water for the most polluted country on the planet. And making our supply chains and even the alleged green energy or clean energy pipeline very dependent on this slave labor and environmentally hostile manufacturing platform. Wouldn't seem to make a lot of sense, but it's also just a further attack on the American working class and the American family. I mean, from the energy secretary just laughing in our faces, as if I could have anything to do with this. Well, how about you talk to the guy allegedly in charge? Well, he's not emitting methane at a climate conference, and come back to America and actually open up for energy here. There are other parts of the world, too, where they have, even in the UK, they have tons of fracking that they could do safely and cleanly to be more energy independent and basically improve CO2 emissions, but they're staying away from it because they all want to pray at the fake church of the sun god that is this climate ideology. So they'll get together with it at this confab. Did any of them give him jazz about cutting back on American energy production and then going and trying to put pressure on Middle Eastern countries to produce more, to try to bail us out of that? Did they give them any grief for the very place they were having this conference, having an energy shortage because wind wasn't enough to fund these blowhards for their energy conference, and they had to turn up coal production energy at higher rates to bail out the international conference. And that doesn't even get to the SUVs, the jets, and everything everyone knows about. But everything from batteries to solar panels to a whole host of things right there square in the China-dependent supply chain, and they haven't said boo about how they're going to diversify that, just how they're going to tax us, double your household expenses, laugh at you, and pretend like inflation is a good thing.
Yes. And that's, I mean, in its entirety. Really quickly, I want to get to a couple of other things while we have you. We're talking with our good friend Stephen Yates at YatesComms on Twitter. The Iraqi PM, he survived a drone attack on his home. I mean, obviously, not the most stable of government, but we've put, I wanted to get your thoughts on this, a lot of effort into this. Is this a consequence of Afghanistan being in the position that it's in now with a complete absence of non-terrorists? I'll just put it like that. Right. I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Well, definitely there is a lot of uncertainty in the world. I as we've talked many, many times, I strongly supported the idea of America stepping back and allowing our allies in the region to step forward, other powers around the world to step forward, carry more of the burden. It's up to the Iraqis to forge their own way ahead. We can and should help people who are trying to do the right things from time to time, but Americans hate giving money to people who hate us in return. And so we needed to let them grow and do more themselves. But if you kind of try to do both parts of this the wrong way, you pull back and you enable the most hostile forces in the region. We don't have enough information now to know exactly who did all of this, but we know that Biden's provocative weakness together with the realistic strategic pullback of our troops has allowed for ISIS perhaps to think they've got a new day to play in Afghanistan. Why wouldn't they think the same in Iraq? That the Iranians are sort of the go-to power in the broader Middle East when it comes to the left's plans for the future of the region. And those that are our allies are left trying to figure out America's an unreliable partner that kind of vacillates wildly from administration to administration. The Chinese and the Russians might be bad actors, but at least they're consistent over time. Then you're left with a devil's playground of a region. I certainly hope for the best for the Iraqis struggling for this democracy, but it does not bode well for stability in that region.
No, it doesn't, and that's the saddest. And what's sad is how much blood and treasure spilled there. Looking quickly at China, Space Pearl Harbor, their satellite crusher, Space Pearl Harbor. This feels like a Spaceballs headline, quite honestly. It's China's Aerospace Science and Technology Corp. They are trying to demonstrate technologies to alleviate and neutralize space debris, but at the same time, Beijing looks at our satellites as debris. I wanted to get your response to this because now this feels like a space war.
Well, the Chinese are really, really good at this. This is definitely not a space war. There is no offensive possible use of being able to shoot down stuff out in space. We've been having a huge amount of trouble out in space. We've desperately needed help with this, and it's the Chinese to the rescue to come and clean the global litter out of the skies because they've done so well at keeping their water and their ground and everything else pristine and good for humanity. So this is just an extension of the goodwill and good stewardship of the Chinese Communist Party going from Earth into the heavens, literally to save the world. So I just a tiny bit on that. But of course, it's terrible that they have this kind of a capability. And people have been in slumber as they've moved forward in this area. And we sort of dilly-dally around about $1 trillion here or there on infrastructure or not infrastructure when they're doing real things that can hurt us. If we want ordinary life to continue, we got to have the satellites up in the sky and they got to be secure. And we can't have all of our data and stuff dependent on the Chinese. Pretty simple.
Very simple. And yet the Chinese they're doing this. And the press conference that we had with our transportation guy, Mayor Buttigieg, to use the Lawrence O'Donnell phraseology, pronunciation, roads are racist. And we got to figure out how to get at the structural racism in the roads. They're too skinny and they're racist, I think. Isn't that what it was?
Maybe space is racist too. We'll have to ask the august secretary and he can figure that out.
Oh boy, I can't. This is just a joke of an administration. Stephen Yates at Yates Comms. Always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time today and your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dana. Take care.
Of course, you too.